Next on BYUSN, a record-setting day for Cougars in the NFL. Is this the most relevant BYU has ever been in the NFL?
And does TCU playing for a national championship tonight give you hope the Cougars can do something similar in the Big 12?
Let's go, Horned Frogs. Welcome to BYU Sports Nation, presented by the BYU Store.
Something like that?
Horned Frogs. Yeah.
Let's go!
BYU Store is the official outfitter of BYU fans everywhere. It is Monday, January 9th. I am Spencer Linton. He is lifelong Detroit Lions fan, Jarom Jordan.
Listen, the Detroit Sea Lions had a great day. Seahawks dramatically win in OT, knock out the Lions from playoff contention, but I know the Lions want to beat the Packers. I'd like to personally thank Jamal Williams for an incredible performance, Jared Goff, DeAndre Swift, the whole gang. I'd like to thank number 7 on the Packers for shoving the trainer, which was like the stupidest thing ever. But yes, the Seahawks win. They now get the chance to get beat by double digits to the Niners on Saturday. It's going to be a bloodbath. But in the playoffs, let's go.
We got to see Jamal Williams and his gold grill.
Dude.
Side by side with Barry Sanders on a graphic last night for making history.
Much more on Jamal Williams coming up on the program. He and Tyler Algier make BYU football history yesterday. Yeah. Cougars in the NFL. Amazing. What the Cougars' NFL success could mean for the program. Men's hoops assistant coach Cody Fueger on the 20-point win at San Diego. The big game with Gonzaga coming up Thursday night. And we get you an update on when we could see the Big 12 football schedule. Here are today's headlines.
BYU legend and Detroit Lions running back Jamal J. Swag Daddy Williams ran for 72 yards and 2 touchdowns in a win over the Green Bay Packers. Williams totaled 1,066 yards and 17 touchdowns on the season. The 17 rushing touchdowns in a season are the most in Detroit Lions history, surpassing Hall of Famer Barry Sanders. LeBron James, of all people, is a huge fan. Jamal wasn't the only former BYU back to eclipse 1,000 yards yesterday. Tyler Algier on 26 carries for 135 yards goes over the mark in a win over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. His 1,035 yards are the most ever for a Falcons rookie. So BYU, in its long history, had never had a running back go for over 1,000 yards in an NFL season. 2 do it on the same day yesterday. Wild.
Thank you, 17-game schedule as well. How'd that help? Fred Warner had 8 tackles in a Niners win versus the Cardinals. Kyle Van Noy recorded 5 tackles, a TFL sack, and a PBU. Michael Davis had a PBU and a tackle, and the Chargers lost to the Broncos. Kyrus Tonga had 2 tackles for the Vikings and win against the Bears. Got a game ball. Freddie Christensen and the Panthers beat Taysom Hill, who had 5 carries for 24 yards and a 1-yard catch. Daniel Sorensen had another pick, 4 tackles. Commanders punt returner Dax Milne had 7 returns for 55 yards and a win against, how about them Cowboys?
BYU men's basketball beats San Diego on the road convincingly, 68-48. Fousseyni Traore led with 15 points and 15 rebounds, doing his thing. Rudy Williams added 13.6 rebounds and 3 assists. Up next for the Cougars, who have won 8 of their last 9, number 9 Gonzaga, 9:30 Eastern on Thursday. Coverage on BYU Sports Nation game day, an hour before tip-off. You don't want to miss it.
It's not on BYU TV, but we got you pre-post. Let's go Thursday night. Women's hoops has won 4 in a row after a 63-49 win against San Diego, led by 21 points and 24 rebounds from Lauren Gustin. The 24 boards tied a Marriott Center record, and Gustin out-rebounded the entire San Diego team by 1. Massive fantasy basketball implications there.
Men's volleyball. What a weekend. Sweeps McKendree on Friday. Mix Romanus led with 10 kills. Capono Brown added 9 kills, 3 aces in a row in that match. Then they followed up with a number 14 upset victory, or number 14 Lewis, I should say, 3-1 on Saturday. Capono Brown, 16 kills, hit 522. He had 4 aces. Romanus added 14 kills and 5 digs. It's a nice 2-0 start to the season for a team that had little expectation going in.
It was good to win, man. Brett Yormark told the media at the College Football Playoff National Championship Media Day, he of course is the Big 12 commissioner, that, quote, the 2023 Big 12 schedule is being finalized and should be released in the next 2 weeks.
We'll see. Houston Heimuli, former BYU football player, now declares for the NFL draft with the following quote on social media: "Grateful for everyone who has been a part of my journey. Excited for what's to come. # NFL Draft 2023. Good luck to Houston as he pursues professional football.
Gymnastics put up a 193.775 for 15th overall in the Super 16 meet in Vegas to begin the season. Elise Rollins had a 9.9 on the beam. Nis Alvarado tied for second on the bars with 9.9 as well. Big meet coming up Friday night on BYU TV, 9 Eastern time from West Valley. The best of Utah meet with Utah, Utah State, Southern Utah, and the Cougs.
It's a low score for gymnastics.
Yep.
I expect a much better score in meet number 2.
Hopefully that's the season low.
Yeah, I think it will be. BYU men's swim and dive wins against Denver by a final of 129-114. The women drop their head-to-head meet against the Pioneers. Up next for both teams, the Air Force Invitational in Colorado Springs on January 20th and 21st.
And the AP poll is out. Gonzaga moves up a spot to number 8, where they will take on BYU coming up Thursday, as mentioned, in men's basketball. St. Mary's 6 out.
That's interesting. Conversation for another day, but the Gales, their metrics look incredible in college basketball.
Yeah, this ain't no Gale sports name.
But they are not ranked. Gonzaga, number 8, let's go. All rise and shout. It's time for What's Trending. Presented by BYU Food to Go, the MVP of your next event. We just went through the NFL headlines featuring all of those outstanding former BYU football players doing their thing at the next level. It has been a remarkable season, and we've said on the show, I keep using the phrase, it's been the superlative season for former Cougars because you've got arguably the best linebacker in the game in Fred Warner. You've got 2 running backs.
No one here is
now,
arguing that.
Okay, 2 running backs in Jamal Williams and Tyler Algier that eclipse 1,000 yards. That had never happened before. You have the most unique player in the league in Taysom Hill, just with how versatile he is and what the Saints ask him to do. You got the most talked about player in the NFL probably in Zach Wilson.
You got the best coach in Andy Reid.
And you got the best coach.
Hall of Fame coach.
It's been an incredible run. Oh, and then there's, Kyle Van Noy has won a couple of Super Bowls, and Michael Davis.
Chargers are 4 seed. They got a shot.
Jarom, is this the most relevant as a whole that BYU has ever been in the National Football League?
I mean, you could argue in the social media era, yes, because they obviously didn't have that. But in the 80s, in the heyday of BYU football, where it won a national championship and it was about to have a Heisman Trophy winner early in the next decade, I looked specifically in the 80s to just see what it looked like. Obviously, you and I are little kids at that point. 1987 was by far the most relevant year in BYU football history. This year was tremendous for all the reasons you outlined, which, by the way, Jamal Williams leads the NFL in rushing touchdowns.
Yeah.
He not only breaks Barry Sanders' record, needs a 17th game to do it. Let's not, forget that, hey, there's an extra game. But gets it done. You play the schedule you have. But 1987, let me walk you through. 3 starting quarterbacks in the league. 3. So we had 1 and we were excited, right? Mark Wilson with the Raiders, Jim McMahon with the Bears, and then Steve Young was with Tampa Bay, soon to be with the Niners, of course. Todd Christensen is coming off 980-plus receiving yards the last 4 years.
He's an all-pro tight end.
He had been all-pro in 83 and 85. Vaisika Hema is first-team all-pro in 87 as a punt returner. Bart Oates, starting center for the Giants. Kurt Govea is with Washington. He's about to go to
win a
the Super Bowl that year. Jason Buck and Leon Wider with Cincinnati. Tom Holmoe's with the Niners. Todd Shell's with the Niners. Trevor Maddich is in New England. Lee Johnson is punting. You literally had guys everywhere doing something. Glenn Kozlowski's with the Bears, and so on and so forth. 1987 is the top of the mountain. You have 3 starting quarterbacks. Like, that piece alone probably puts you over the top. And if Zach Wilson had like an amazing season and the Jets are in the playoffs, maybe there's an argument. But I just think coming out of the incredible 79-85 for BYU.
You won a national championship.
In 87, you have all these guys almost in the NFL, plus a few others like Todd Christensen from the right before 79. So I'm going to go with specifically 1987. But what BYU did in the NFL this year, and is still doing in the playoffs, this could be capped off with another Super Bowl for, let's be honest, Fred Warner with the Niners, amazing, as the 2 seed, I think, right? And then, of course, the Chiefs are awesome. Maybe somebody else. But what BYU is doing now is awesome. Because if I'm Harvey Unga, I am using this the next couple of weeks before signing day going, look what we've done. We have Jamal Williams and Tyler Algier, 2,000-yard guys. There are 3 schools that produced multiple 1,000-yard rushers in the NFL. Alabama did 3, Penn State did 2, and BYU. This is QBU. We love our running backs, though, and you look at these numbers. Georgia, of course, as well. You forget that Justin Fields, I guess, did it as a quarterback. Okay, just any 1,000-yard rusher. There you go. That is an incredible graphic, and what BYU did to be relevant. Jamal Williams and the Lions were awesome. Like, it's almost a bummer they're not in the playoffs.
I told you. I'm so bummed they're not.
Not at the sacrifice of my Seahawks, but I would have loved for them to be in the playoffs.
They're the most likable team.
They're so hot right now.
They're the most likable team in the league.
Hansel, so hot right now. That's
Yes.
the Lions. But just awesome to see that in every facet of the game. It's not like it's just offense or just players even, right? Andy Reid and Fred Warner are the best at their positions. Jamal was the best at scoring touchdowns, rushing in the NFL. This was pretty unique in that regard.
That's what makes it different than 1987, is the superlatives. The most, the best, the number one, the most unique.
Ramsey's the number one.
87 is just overall goodness, right? There's just so much BYU spread across the NFL. And, you know, Gavea was a fantastic linebacker. He won a Super Bowl that year. But in that age, was Jim McMahon the best quarterback? No, neither was Mark Wilson. Steve Young was not, you know, the best yet. He had to wait until 1994 to get to that level and, you know, punctuate his Hall of Fame career.
Yeah, 92 it was NFL MVP, I think,
yes,
too, right?
okay.
Yeah.
I'm saying, like, punctuate the Hall of Fame career. You win the Super Bowl, you're an MVP again. So there was a little bit of time that had to take place, but, like, just from a sheer standpoint of, like, body of work, 87 was incredible, yes. But BYU is unique this year with the superlatives. It's just like the players that are in the league and are getting attention are like the most. They're just at the top of their game. So literally, right? Jamal, nobody scored more touchdowns than Jamal Williams. When you break Barry Sanders' record, regardless, like if it took an extra week, whatever, even if he only finished with 15 in 16 weeks and it's one behind Barry Sanders,
it was awesome.
It's an unforgettable season. Tyler Algier got kind of a slow start to a season. So for him to do what he did after not being the lead back to begin with is remarkable, right? He surpassed Cordero Patterson, and he needed to have a big day to get those 1,000+ yards. And not just that, so he eclipses that mark, but then he gets 35 more to become the all-time leading rookie rusher in Falcons history. So it's unique in the fact that BYU and the players that we're talking about right now in this era are at the top of their game. The fact that BYU has Fred Warner in the league, and I mean that alone is awesome, right? Best linebacker.
He's the best defensive player in the NFL from BYU ever.
Yeah, who's better than Fred?
No one's been all-pro defensively from BYU. He did it a couple years ago.
Yeah, not even Jason Buck or Kirk Gavea, right?
They were very good. They weren't the best player.
They weren't the best player at their position in the league. So
Fred is the greatest defensive player.
It is very unique.
In the NFL.
And I do love the social media age, and we're not going to get lost in recency bias because.
And that's why I say 87, Spence, because your point is super valid. I just want it because if you're at BYU right now, you don't know who Leon White is. You just don't. And we cannot forget the past, right? Otherwise, we're doomed to repeat it. But the past was awesome for BYU. Oh, I hope to repeat that in the Big 12. And the fact that BYU is doing this now is awesome because guess what? We used to say with BYU, well, I don't know if the draft matters, we're here to win games. Broncos, sometimes it felt like, it's not my job necessarily. Yes, it is. It is BYU's job to get the best players in the NFL.
Yeah.
You know why, Kingsley Suamataia comes here? Because he thinks he could make it in the NFL as like a first, second rounder. Because he looked at Brady Christensen in the 2020 season he had. Certainly, Zach Wilson would have helped this conversation. He was extremely relevant in terms of conversation. A lot of talk about Zach. Hopefully, he finds his way still. But this is QBU. BYU's got to get Jaron in the league, and they will. Hopefully, Jaron finds some success. Hopefully, Keaton Slovis is in the NFL in a year and a half from now.
Can he become another former BYU quarterback to get to the league?
Taysom Hill certainly carved out the most unique spot in almost NFL history for himself. This has been awesome. BYU should and needs to use these as recruiting pitches to say, listen, we're just getting going. We weren't even a Power 5 team yet, and look at what we did. Now put us in a Power 5, increase the money, the facilities, continued exposure with ESPN and Fox. And where can we go from here? Jamal Williams is a kid, not a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, young black kid, comes to BYU at 17, and BYU puts his arms around him. He puts his arms around BYU, and both have benefited in an amazing way. Same with Tyler Algier. Walk-on, not a member of the church. And he comes here, and he is 100% a Coug and amazing, and it's fun to watch them succeed. If I'm Harvey Unga, I am in running back potential recruits' houses saying, look at these two guys. They got 1,000. These guys Jamal came to BYU with some excitement. Tyler came with no excitement, was literally Ubering to Walmart to make ends meet, playing defense for BYU a little bit. And look at what these guys have done. This is a credit first to them and second to their families and the coaches. And it's just, today's a day of celebration as a BYU fan.
Yeah.
To see these guys succeed in that way, and we're certainly excited because they're BYU guys.
What is relevance? It's being talked about.
So Zach is the most relevant BYU football
So,
player.
because I mean, if we're answering the question like just straight up, is this the most relevant, the most talked about?
Relevant
BYU
to me
has
also
ever
means
been
it matters.
in the NFL.
It matters.
So, as cool as it was, I'm sure, to be written about in the New York Times and newspapers back in the late 80s, the social media game has changed everything, right?
Well,
so
then there's nothing
would BYU have been
2009 then.
Would BYU have been as talked about in 1987 with those players and the three quarterbacks?
If we had BYU Sports Nation in 1987, I think we would have liked it quite a bit.
We would have loved it for sure, but
And you would have recorded it on your VHS at home.
like the personalities matter is what I'm getting at. Like it just, because Jamal is who he is, and Tyler comes from the story that he did, and Zach Wilson is who he is, and Andy Reid is who he is, they're talked about more. So they're not just talked about in the BYU circles, and like these are main storylines.
I don't know what
all,
the Detroit Free Press was writing in 1987.
Everybody's talking about Jamal, is my point, because he is who he is. LeBron James takes to Twitter last night and says straight up, I love this guy. I love this kid so much. So dope. Yeah. You have a fan in me, Jamal, quote tweeting his walk-off interview, right?
Yeah, and shout out to Jamal's family because his great-grandfather died, we learned. He was extremely emotional after the game about that.
Yeah. So, again, I don't want to get lost in recency bias, but because Jamal is who he is and the players are who they are, it just feels like they're being talked about more. But, again, it's a different age. It's hard to compare. It's 35 years ago in 1987.
But we have an hour to fill on a Monday.
Different media, obviously. So it's a fun conversation. Is this the most talked about BYU has ever been in the NFL?
Was that the question?
Relevant. Well, I'm saying relevance is being talked about, right? That's what I'm saying.
Relevance to me also means it matters.
Yeah.
If you're relevant, you matter.
Our voice of the nation with this question of the day now is this. Is this the most relevant BYU has ever been in the NFL? At Playoff Bogey on Twitter answers, most relevant was obviously the Steve Young era. He's the most relevant player BYU's ever had.
Yeah, like when he's winning the Super Bowl, everybody knows him.
For sure.
BYU, and he's the culmination. Like Ty is the collegiate culmination of BYU quarterbacks.
Steve's the NFL.
Steve is the pro football
individual
culmination.
Individual
of quarterbacks.
Yes. Yeah. Collectively, Playoff Bogey is saying this is the most relevant BYU's ever been at multiple positions on multiple teams. So many guys are killing it in the NFL right now, and it's beautiful to watch.
Yeah, it's great to have done it in multiple times, right? This isn't the first time BYU's had this situation, right? As we chronicled, in the 80s, BYU had a ton of dudes doing awesome stuff.
For sure. Great, like a lot of really good players in 1987. Just a ton of good players.
And 10% of the league was a starting BYU quarterback.
There are fewer players now compared to 87 that BYU has in the league now, but those players are doing like greater things than the collective was doing in 1987 per se. So it's a unique conversation there. Really fun. It's great to be great in multiple eras.
Yeah, it's awesome. And one day we'll get to Alabama status. Let's keep going. Okay, join Greg Wrubell and Mark Pope tomorrow as they look back at the road trip split. 8th-ranked Gonzaga coming into town Thursday night. It's BYU basketball with Mark Pope. Get your tickets on Eventbrite. Just Google the name, BYU basketball with Mark Pope. 8:30 Eastern tomorrow night on the BYU TV app.
BYU men's basketball earns a 20-point road win on Saturday. Cody Fueger amped about it. We're going to ask him how you bounce back in that way and what's the game plan for the Zags. This is BYU Sports Nation.
This portion of BYU Sports Nation is presented by BYU Food to Go, the MVP of your next event.
This is where we dominate. Our playground, place of business. This is our promised land, where we seek to find ourselves. And we're here to make sure the spaces our best prove themselves on appear how they should. Intermountain Healthcare, official medical provider for BYU Athletics.
Football in Utah is all about the rivalries.
Red. Ooh, quarterback. Wide out. Rewards. Wait, what? My style, checking rewards. My style, right.
For Mountain America's My Style Checking, it's all about the benefits.
Loan discounts.
But it's hard to pick a favorite.
No. Mobile phone protection. Tell me how. You're going to need that when we're done. I heard that. Let's go.
Get the account rivaled by no one. My Style Checking from Mountain America.
BYU men's hoops dreams are flying high. But before hitting the hardwoods of the Big 12, they're shooting to leave their royal blue imprint on the courts of the WCC. Join us for BYU Sports Nation Game Day as we chat it up with Coach Pope on the team's growth, dive deep into player profiles, and keep it real on the Cougs' big dance chances. It's time to raise the spirited Y banner on our final tour of the WCC. BYU Sports Nation Game Day. Tune in, join us.
It's another Atiki alley-oop.
Welcome back to BYU Sports Nation. We are live in Studio B on a fantastic Monday. I am Spencer Linton alongside Jarom Jordan. It is our pleasure now to welcome in BYU basketball assistant coach Cody Fueger, fresh off a dominant win in San Diego. On top of being in San Diego, just the venue alone is amazing, right, with the weather. You win by 20, Cody, so congratulations on that. How you feeling after the weekend?
Pretty good, appreciate that. Yeah, the guys really played hard, and transition defense was a lot better on Saturday, and yeah, it was good, other than a Packers loss last night.
So let's go there.
That was tough. Obviously, the Seahawks benefited from that. But, yeah, emotionally, what was that like? Because it was a crazy day in the NFL.
Yeah, so have you guys seen the movie Anger Management? You know, the 76ers fan that's like, you know what, I'm not going to let it bring me down. I'm not going to think about it. I'm not going to get too excited about the Packers at all. Last night I got caught up into it a little bit and kind of had a little anger management issues. Just for a little bit. I'm way better today.
I had a roommate at BYU. All my other roommates know, because we still laugh about this, who punched a hole in the wall for a regular season Atlanta Braves game.
Wow.
So it can get worse. It wasn't even playoffs, no playoff indication. Regular season Braves. Doesn't deserve it. But after Thursday, certainly a disappointing loss to LMU, how did you get the guys up for, again, kind of a sneaky San Diego team that, hey, it's been hard to win there for BYU, and you guys win by 20? Like, how did you get the guys ready for that?
Coach Pope is, he's an unbelievable leader. You know, we talk about after the game, just trying to get the guys out of the locker room. Let's get to the hotel, and we drove down to San Diego right away. And our focus was, all right, during this LMU game, what are some points that we can help us get to San Diego, right? So things that we can still get better at as a team and more focus about us, but also get ready for the San Diego game. So that's kind of what we put all our eggs in, and the guys really, answered the bell.
You put San Diego into a really interesting scenario. By interesting, I mean it's their worst nightmare going 9 minutes without scoring against BYU. What did you do defensively to cause them some problems and put them in such a long scoring drought in that game?
Yeah, so our guys had the game plan down, right? Our game plan was switch 1 through 5, so there wasn't a lot of rotations. And just to have them take shots that they don't want to usually take, because they're a really good three-point shooting team. I think they're top 40 in the country shooting the ball from 3. So our goal was just to get them to take three-point shots they weren't usually taking or pull up mid-range 2s, and luckily they took a lot of those all game long.
You guys have done a good job defending that. Pacific came into that game kind of number 1 in the league, limited them, which was great. Spencer Johnson returned to the starting lineup. What went into the decision for now's the time for him to return?
There was a couple things, we just wanted to play a little bit better in transition defense to start the game. And then also Noah kind of had a little nagging shoulder kind of deal that he was kind of going through, and just going to want to keep that warm and just put out a different lineup and change things up, and just see what, it's awesome having Spencer in there,
Speaking of rotations, Trevin Nell certainly weighing the decision to return or not. At this point in the season, would it still be worth it for Trevin to come back? Because we saw Gavin came back in 1920. It was worth it defensively against Gonzaga. With this group and the guards and the amount of guards and the quality there, I'm wondering if it's just better to save it for 2 years in the Big 12. Certainly, maybe up to him.
Yeah, for sure. Like, it's up to Trevin right now, If he wants to be back and ready to go, we will take him open arms, right? It's up to him. What does he want to be doing in the next year, 2, 3 years?
I want to see threes made in Lubbock. In Houston, that's what I want to see. Yeah.
That would be nice, because he can shoot that ball really well. So.
Cody Fueger with us on BYU Sports Nation, BYU basketball assistant coach, coming off a win at San Diego. You've won 8 of your last 9 as a team.
Hey.
3-1 in West Coast Conference play. The metrics, I don't know how much you pay attention to those at this point of the season.
They do.
Net rankings,
right?
And Ken Palm, and they're better than they have been, so they're in an upward trajectory, and you got Gonzaga coming to town. So how does that affect the dynamic of the Gonzaga game, knowing that you are on the upswing, and this certainly is a statement-type game that you could have?
Yeah, I mean, the guys are really excited about it. We already met, watched film this morning. It's Gonzaga coming in here. They've been running the WCC for a long time, and our guys know about them. We talk about them all the time. Defensively, that's something that we've really gotten better over the last 8-9 games that you're talking about. So that's something that we're going to definitely hang our hat on for this game. And offensively, keep making simple plays for each other, trying to protect this ball a little bit better. Just like what every coach deals with, right, is turnovers, and that's something that we talk about every day. And those are kind of the main things that we're talking about.
Certainly you'll dig into the Zags today and tomorrow and the next couple of days. But what are you seeing from them that's maybe different from the last couple of years? Because they've obviously lost 3 games. They're to 3 really good teams. They were down in the last 2 minutes last week with San Francisco and Santa Clara. Granted, those are good quality teams. What are you seeing from the Zags right now?
I see them, they don't have that. They haven't had the, NBA, point guard right now, right? They just haven't had that guy that they've had the last 3 years. But they're still running hard in transition. They still got Drew Timme, who's been a top 3 player the last 3 years in all of college basketball. But things that Santa Clara and San Francisco did is that they played transition defense for about 38 minutes of that game, and their rebounding was off the charts on both sides of the ball. So that's something that we have to do at a really high level here too. That's something that we talk about every single day, all day long, is transition D and rebounding with Gonzaga. That's the most important thing.
So you're saying 38 minutes until the last 2 minutes?
The last 2 minutes.
Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. The last 2 minutes kind of got, San Francisco banged up, and also Santa Clara.
Yeah,
Same
interesting.
2 things.
And then regarding defensive transition, does that take away from one of the strengths of the BYU team, which is Foose on the offensive glass? Or can it be Foose, you go hard, but guards, you got to get back?
Yeah, it does a little bit at times, right? It just kind of depends on if Foose, we usually want Foose going every single time. But this time is if he's got a beat on it, get it. If not, you got to sprint your butt back, right? Like
all 5.
Yeah, all 5. Just like what we did with San Diego. We only got, I think, 3 offensive rebounds that game, and that's been a huge thing for us, is offensive rebounding.
But you didn't need that to win.
We didn't need that to win. Yeah,
gotcha.
That was our biggest thing, and make it a 5-on-5 game in the half court. So.
You bring up making simple plays and protecting the ball, limiting turnovers. How do you simulate something like that in practice to
give Cody the ball.
encourage those things?
That's how you do it.
We're not talking elite three-point shooters right now. We're just talking about protecting the ball. So what do you do at this juncture of the season in practice to simulate that?
We do a ton of 3-on-3, 5-on-5, transition offensive stuff, and 3-on-3 and 5-on-5 in the half court. Just a ton of decision-making drills and just making a simple play, right? We'll just give them a couple different defensive, like exactly how Gonzaga is going to play, or exactly how Pepperdine is going to play, like in the next couple games. how they guard defensively, or different traps and things like that, and just making the simple play. Just don't make the home run pass, just make the next easy pass, right? And that's just really important for us down the line here.
Speaking of, Rudy Williams is most effective, it seems, when he gets to the free throw line because he's a tremendous shooter from there. This last game was evident of that. How do you make sure he gets to the free throw line? Is that just a mentality? Is that an aggression level for him with the basketball in his hand?
It's definitely an aggression level, and for Rudy, the last 8-9 games, his decision-making has just been 100 times better than starting the season. So Rudy will come in and watch the clips of every single time he has the ball in his hands, and just kind of this decision-making process and what he's seeing and what he's doing. And he's really taking it to heart, and he's working on it, and he actually loves coming in, and Coach Pope will spend some time with him, and he's just grown so much in that area, and that's just helped him get to the free throw line when he can take his chances to get there.
I'm excited to see Rudy. We talked about it last week, about Rudy in the quad one games has been a kind of a different player. Thursday could be one of those nights.
I'm really hoping so. Yeah, he's been great. He just comes in off the bench right now, and he just brings such a great spark and energy and life to our team.
BYU basketball assistant coach Cody Fueger is on BYU Sports Nation. Let's talk more Drew Timme, because he is one of, if not the alpha guy for Gonzaga. What's the key to defending somebody like that you know well, but still seems to be so effective?
Yeah, I mean, every single team he plays against, right? I mean, the best way to take Drew Timme out of the game is trying not to let him get the ball, right? And that's the hardest thing to do with these big guys who's 6'10", and they got really good passing teams, so he kind of finds angles to get it. A couple times he just brings the ball down in transition and dribbles right to the post. So we're going to try to give him a couple different looks, but just trying to keep the ball out of his hands as much as we can.
During this 9-game run of 8 wins, when the team is playing great and you're winning, what is it that is happening that you're going, okay, that is the winning formula for us?
Well, for us, it's been our getting to the offensive glass offensively, right? That's been huge for us. Turnovers have been down, other than a couple of games. We've had a couple of bad turnovers.
Isn't it 4-1 with 20+ still or something? Like, it's this weird number that Tyler Haas, I go, no, that's the winning number.
That's a credit to you.
He goes,
BYU
it's not
finding a way.
sustainable. Of course it's not. But there have been some games where you've overcome that.
Yeah, for sure. I think it was at Pacific. We had just a couple just wild turnovers, right? But it's been our transition defense. Transition defense. Like in LMU, we were good for most of that game, but they had 13 points in transition in the first half, right? And that was just such a huge key going into that game. So offensive rebounding, transition D, and defensive rebounding. And we've been guarding the 3-point line way better too, right? I mean, that's been a huge deal. Yeah. And, we're close to being a top 25 defensive team right now. So
keep climbing, yeah.
Yeah, we're hanging our hat on the defensive end.
Hey, it took a sec, but it's there, right? Yeah. At the beginning of the year, we were like, okay, what's BYU going to – you invested in defense, and almost top 25 is awesome.
Yeah, do you care how the wins happen? Because this team is finding unique and different and sometimes, I don't know, ways to win games, right? So do you care how those happen?
Not really. I don't care. I just want to win at the end of the day, and I just want everyone to feel like they're a part of it. And the only time I get a little frustrated is the turnovers right now. Like, that's the biggest thing. It's like, come on.
But 4-1 with 20+, so I don't know, Cody.
That's ugly.
Thursday night, it's kind of an end of an era, right? Last home game with Gonzaga in the WCC. Certainly Kansas, Baylor, Houston, and so on and so forth. It's going to be awesome the next couple of years and forever. But what is this game, the Gonzaga game, especially in Provo, meant to BYU and BYU fans? And obviously in Spokane, there have been some great wins too.
Yeah, I mean, it's just really important. I mean, they're usually the top team in the country, right? They've been that the last 4 years. This year, I think they're ranked number 10 or 9, or I forget what they're ranked right now. It's just an incredible team. Like Coach Fue's done, come on. Nobody's done a better job than him at a place like Gonzaga. So them coming in here, and it's just really important to all of us and our team and our players. It's something that we all talk about and care about, and something important for the fans. A neighbor will drive by and he'll say, hey, good luck against Gonzaga. Go get Gonzaga. That's the most important thing.
It's not doing it
really
for Anybody else?
Nobody else.
Doesn't even know we're playing Pepperdine. No. Yeah. You like against Pepperdine? What? Yeah. Awesome.
Exactly.
So clearly you've passed your anger management courses.
Yes.
You're in a good place now. But maybe it's singing with Jack Nicholson, I Feel Pretty. You know the scene I'm talking about, right?
Oh, yeah.
Fantastic scene. Okay. Do whatever you got to do to stay in that mindset. And as I ask you this, I know I ask with all the love of my heart, have we seen the last of your beloved Aaron Rodgers in a Green Bay Packers uniform?
I don't know. I watched a little bit last night as he's,
keeping his jersey
and putting his arm around Randall Cobb, like those two guys walking out together, and I don't know. I think so. I hope not, but I think it is.
Yeah,
we'll see. Yep.
But there's love for Jamal, right? He's once a Packer,
Jamal,
always a Packer, right? Once a Packer, always a Packer.
Yeah, he's a stud, man. Come on, I love watching him play. I wish we still had him.
Yeah, he's the best.
Cody, it's great to catch up with you, man. Congratulations on all the success. Winning when you have 20-plus turnovers. Let's hope that's not the case this week. But
it's not going to work Thursday.
Find a way. Let's give you some karma for the game against Gonzaga.
Good luck.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Okay, coming up Thursday, 8:30 Eastern Time, we've got an hour pregame show. This game is not on BYU TV, but we're doing a pre- and postgame show for BYU and Gonzaga. Let's go, baby. Spencer on the court, Blaine and Tyler with me in studio. 8:30 Eastern, Thursday night on BYU.
Let's go. And up next on BYU Sports Nation, which former BYU football player still in the playoffs has the best chance of winning a Super Bowl? We'll discuss. This is BYU Sports Nation.
BYU Sports Nation is presented by the BYU Store, official outfitter of BYU fans everywhere.
Quick crack. Wash all you want. Don't drive dirty.
Trio Orem Senior Living believes in empowering seniors to live life to the fullest. We help eliminate stress out of daily life when you live at Trio. Less time focusing on housework means you can socialize at one of our many events, with safety in mind, of course. And did we mention our spacious apartments with modern amenities? Learn more about setting up a private tour at trioorem.com.
Before I was a coach at BYU, or before I was even a player, I was a BYU fan.
We've got great energy as a team, but we have even better energy because of our fans, and it's absolutely magical.
When you hear the crowd roar, that makes it more exciting, more of an adrenaline rush.
The roar of the crowd, you can feel it on the floor, you can feel that energy, and it's unlike anywhere else in the country.
BYU Sports, it's all about the fans.
Hey, to follow the show on social media, interact with it, get some great content throughout the day. Follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, and TikTok.
Welcome back to the show. I am Spencer Linton. He is Jarom Jordan. Let's whip it. The Cougar Whip Around presented by Maersk, your e-commerce logistics shipping partner.
Which BYU alum who made it to the NFL playoffs has the best chance to win the Super Bowl?
Hard to argue with Andy Reid and the Chiefs, right? Just because he might be the best coach in the game, and the Chiefs are the #1 seed in the AFC playoffs. So good with that first round
they
buy
can
and
do
play.
Ring Around the Rosie
And then go score a touchdown. What the heck was that? An Andy Reid special. They do whatever they want, and it works. I like Fred Warner's chances a lot. It's great.
Yep, until Saturday.
But Andy Reid feels like the leader in the clubhouse at this point.
Yeah, I wonder if the Chargers can just sneak up on some people as the 4 seed. You got 2 Cougs there with Michael Davis, of course. Vikings are the worst good team in NFL history. They had a negative point differential and still won the division. It was like a really weird stat, right?
They're down 38-0 in a game this year and won.
I'll go with Fred Warner and the Niners, although I hope the Niners lose Saturday this year.
Okay. Speaking of the Minnesota Vikings, head coach Kevin O'Connell gave Kairos Tonga, but he said, "Where's my man Tonga?" The game ball after the Vikings win, calling him a huge addition to the team. Did Kairos have the most underrated season from a Cougar in the NFL?
I think so. We haven't talked about him a ton, but he was on the Bears, played a little bit, but he moves over to the Vikings, and he's a real good part of that interior defense, of course. Minnesota in the playoffs. Good for Kairos. Gets to taste the playoff. Gets to taste that playoff dough as well.
Yes.
Kairos is what BYU hopes to get defensively, which is interior defensive linemen that can really make a difference. I'm hoping there are more Kairos Tongas down the line for BYU defensively.
He certainly is underrated. I still think when all is said and done, Tyler Algier is going to have the most underrated season of any former Cougar, just because it's on a Falcons team that's not going to the playoffs.
Yeah.
And he was awesome, but not a ton of people are going to talk about Tyler Algier outside of Atlanta and BYU. Like it's not like an NFL storyline.
And no one talks about D tackles that don't get sacks. Like
yeah.
But we know what Kairos is. He's tremendous.
Amazing.
Sports Illustrated's Ross Dellinger tweeted the following. Big 12 Commissioner Brett Yormark says there's nothing new on Texas and Oklahoma's move to the SEC. He's open to discussing an early exit before 25. Those talks are happening. 23. Big 12 schedules being finalized and should be released in the next 2 weeks. Isn't it about time?
I'll believe it when I see it. Yeah, there was another
all right, Thomas.
tweet I saw from another reporter that said, Brett Yormark also added, "It'll be out very soon." What is soon 2 weeks? Like, do we buy into this?
We read very soon in the Doctrine and Covenants as hundreds of years, so we're used to sort of those.
It's January 9th. Like at one point they said February, so I've got my money on February, like February 1st, which would be 3.5 weeks.
Yeah, just when it's out, just show me. Just don't tell me, show me.
It's unfortunate because we thought it was going to be in October, and then it was November,
and then it was December 1st.
Now it's February.
What? Just tell me when it's out.
But now 2 weeks from January 9th. Now my money's on February. All right. BYU men's volleyball goes 2-0 over the weekend, including a win over number 14 Lewis. Solid performance in the Smith Fieldhouse. Is it too early to raise expectations?
Yes, it is. BYU certainly won. Had some flawed wins. Friday night was very flawed against McKendree. I was nervous because Lewis played UC Irvine very well. But yeah, 2 really nice wins. Bye week this week. Fairleigh Dickinson coming into town next week. So you'd think the BYU's probably walking out 4-0 after the first 3 weeks of the season. But we'll see. BYU certainly has a lot to clean up from service and serve receive and consistency with the outside hitters and whatnot. Heath Hughes still finding his rhythm, but yeah, it was fun to see 2 wins.
Yeah, it's too early to raise expectations. We don't really know what Lewis is, but I do expect BYU to be ranked this week.
Yeah, and Lewis's setter was out, by the way.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Their backup was pretty good.
BYU taking advantage of a key roster player not being involved.
Lauren Gustin goes for 21 points, 24 rebounds. Was that her best performance yet?
I mean, it's either 21 and 24 or the 22 and 23 she had like 10 days earlier.
45 points and rebounds. Amazing.
It was interesting because it was kind of quiet against San Diego. Like I felt like her
quiet 24 rebound game.
22-23 against St. Mary's was more loud. It just felt that way in the game, probably because it was more physical.
When she scored, maybe.
Yeah.
When she rebounded.
Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting, but so I'm going to say her game against, the 22-23 performance is probably still better. That was against Pacific, I should say, not St. Mary's. She's incredible. Like, what's crazy is like we look up on the board and she's going to have 16 rebounds in the game this year, and we're going to be like, yeah. Like,
underperformed tonight.
It's crazy. She's averaging 15. We're getting to that point where it's like, oh yeah, she had 15 and 15. Okay.
I'll say Tyna Merritt's center record is the one, her best yet. That's amazing.
It's pretty incredible. All right, listen to this from Jamal Williams during his Sunday Night Football introduction.
First Swag Kazakage, leader of the hidden village of the Den. First Swag Kazakage, leader of the hidden village of the Den. First Swag Kazakage, leader of the hidden village of the Den. First Swag Kazakage, leader of the hidden village of the Den. First Swag.
Okay. What the heck is he talking about there?
I'm assuming it's a character from an anime.
Well, first
leader of the dead. Is that what he said? Someone's Kage.
Well, he says first sweat Kazekage, but he refers to himself as that on Twitter. Like that's what's written on his Twitter name.
Yeah,
Not his handle. His
I don't
name.
really know, one, what he was saying, and two, what it means. But I like it.
He's huge into anime.
Yeah.
Which is why I wore the sweatshirt that I'm wearing today. You know, this is my throwback to Japanese characters. He's big into anime, Pokemon.
Are you saying this is anime Cosmo?
Yes, this is absolutely this is anime Cosmo.
He looks ticked.
Well, he should be.
Why would Cosmo be mad?
Because
he always won 8 of 9 in
disrespected. Jared.
By who?
Oh, this is Jamal like saying like we're the Detroit Lions. Stop sleeping on us, right? Cosmo's upset because he's in that mindset that Jamal had during his walk-off.
Oh,
interview.
Cosmo's living through. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, he's living through Jamal.
Oh, gotcha.
Come on.
Cosmo's in a good mood.
Anime
Cosmo's
Cosmo.
not Scully. He ain't no bad
it's
mood.
got to be something with anime.
Yeah.
It's unique.
Yeah,
is what
I
it
don't
is.
know what he said, and it's okay. Listen live as BYU hosts 8th-ranked Gonzaga Thursday night in the Marriott Center. Coverage begins at 8:30 Eastern on BYU Radio and the BYU Radio app.
Up next, does tonight's national championship college football game give hope to a future for BYU in the Big 12 and what they could do in the playoff? This is BYU Sports Nation.
This portion of BYU Sports Nation is presented by Maersk, your e-commerce logistics shipping partner.
Accidents don't just happen 9 to 5. They happen when you least expect them. The team at Siegfried & Jensen is here for you 24/7. Nights, weekends, every day, every hour. Really here for you. No matter when you call us, you'll speak to a real person and have access to the same expertise and personal attention as always, and get the legal help you need when you need it. Nights, weekends, every day, every hour, 24/7.
Learn more at siegfriedandjensen.com.
If you're looking to build your brand awareness and increase market share as BYU moves into the Big 12, this is the place, BYU Athletics. We can provide the tools you need to make sure your company is seen and heard. BYU Athletics is where you can align your products and services with loyal fans that cheer for our Cougars. And they can also help your business win. Learn more about what a partnership with BYU Athletics and your company will look like. After all, this is the place. Email sponsorship at byu.edu today.
Welcome aboard, everyone.
And what is the purpose of the mission?
To collect a jar of dust from the surface of Neptune, because the crazy billionaire funding this mission thinks it has life-prolonging properties.
What does it know?
Yeah, that sounds just as weird in space as it did on Earth.
They have been driving me nuts.
Given the right opportunity, anyone can be a hero.
What? Yeah, what?
Welcome back to BYU Sports Nation. We are live in Studio B tonight, National Championship College Football, with future Big 12 foe for BYU, TCU, as a 13.5-point underdog against the reigning national champion, Georgia Bulldogs. All right, Jarom, does TCU playing for the national championship in some way give BYU fans hope that the Cougars will get their shot at something similar once they're in the Big 12?
It's certainly been a magical run by TCU. They've won all these one-score games except the Kansas State game where they lost in overtime. There's a certain amount of luck involved there. To just a play's got to go your way here or there. You stay healthy enough.
Was it lucky scoring 51 against Michigan?
Well, no, but like the whole, you don't even play Michigan if you don't win all but one of those games. Yes and no. Like, listen, if BYU can go 10-2 in a regular season in the Big 12, that'll be one of the greatest seasons in BYU football history. You put the 84 team in the current Big 12, like, do they go 10-2? It's going to be a hard road. Certainly TCU has done something incredible. There's some understanding of TCU as a program because they were in the WAC and Mountain West with BYU, and they've been in the Big 12 now since 2012. So yes and no. Like, I'm not thinking BYU is going to play for a natty anytime soon, although that'd be great. And it's certainly the goal to win a national championship. But if BYU can just get to the Big 12 title game at some point, I'm pretty happy. And if that happens once in the first 10 years, I am also happy with that.
A couple of things are at play, are at play for BYU here, and that is, one, you're going to the Power 5. And so now comes funding and hopefully better recruiting, but the playoff is also expanding to 12 teams. And there is rhetoric out there that it could very easily expand to 16 teams.
Like the FCS.
So that helps BYU's cause to get into the most relevant of college football tournaments now, if that playoff expands to 12 or 16. And isn't it interesting that in year 11, it's the two teams, Utah and TCU, that most recently made the jump from Group of 5 to Power 5 that are both kind of having like these memorable runs. The Utes are the back-to-back Pac-12 champs, go to 2 straight Rose Bowls, and TCU is in a national championship game. So, are BYU fans thinking, just 11 years in, let's go.
Give us that.
Let's go.
Yeah. What can BYU do over a decade? How much better can BYU be? Can BYU find the depth that they've been lacking? Can they find the strength and conditioning situation to get them in a position to win? Like the 2021 team was certainly interesting. They were in the mix, right, for New Year's 6 bid, which was very exciting. You've got to have 2 or fewer losses in the regular season. And honestly, Utah prior to this year had benefited from a weak South Division at times to get to that title game, right? BYU is not going to have that in the Big 12. Certainly this year, Utah earned it to go and play Oregon as one of the top 2 teams when they eliminated the division thing. Granted, it ended up being South versus North anyway. But in the Big 12, there's some good teams. And guess what? It's Texas and Oklahoma the first 2 years. That's tough too. Granted, Oklahoma took a step back. Texas not been the same. You're playing a bunch of 4 and 5 stars.
Yeah.
Like BYU is going to be out-talented in the upper part of the Big 12 in every game. But can they scheme? Can they outwork? Can they out-execute? Obviously, BYU typically overachieves in that way because they are disciplined, because they are well-coached. I would hope that in 10 years we're sitting here going, remember what BYU was? They've recruited way better. Facilities are way better. Can you use that money in an effective way to outdo other teams? Because they're getting the same amount. It's not like suddenly BYU's out raising everybody.
Give me one spot in the college football playoff, even if it's expanded in the first 10 years. Awesome.
Oh,
that'd be
great.
And wait, now let me clarify something. Were you saying it was north-south in the Pac-12 anyway? Because wasn't it south-south with Utah USC?
Oh, USC. I was thinking Oregon was in it.
Yeah.
It was south-south.
We all thought Oregon was going to be in it, and then they played themselves out of it.
Well, that's my point, too. Is like, if it's divisions, then Utah's not even in the Pac-12 title game.
They're not in it.
Like they benefited from sometimes it being weak, and this year from it being. But you play the cards you have. If you're Jamal, you're not like, my 17 didn't count. Yes, but I'm just acknowledging, hey, there were 17 games that helped this.
One spot in the playoff, expanded playoff, in the first 11 years.
I'd take it, man.
Let's go.
Like we're sitting here hoping we win New Mexico Bowls right now. You know what I mean? Like we're banged up or whatever. At the end of the year, you got to be ready to play. You got to be healthy enough to go. BYU's got to do something it hasn't done, which is at the end of the season, we are fully healthy for a big game, the Cotton Bowl in '97.
Let's roll, baby.
Right?
Let's do it.
Okay, catch every game and every interview again for the first time if you want, or a second time if you missed it, or you want to see it again, rather. BYUSN.com's got the games and shows and whatnot.
Up next, Lauren Gustin is single-handedly defeating me in fantasy basketball this season. You know what? I'm not even mad because she's just so incredible. The results are next on BYU Sports Nation.
You ate a whole wheel of cheese.
BYU Sports Nation is presented by the BYU Store, official outfitter of BYU fans everywhere.
Tim Daly Ford in Spanish Fork sells Ford vehicles including the F-150, the pickup designed for work and play. Tim Daly Ford maintains a large inventory, providing more choices for selecting an F-150 with the power and engineering to carry and tow heavy loads. The F-150's design offers comfort, safety, and a range of options to choose from. Think Ford, think Tim Daly Ford in Spanish Fork.
good, Nico. You're going. You're good. Lean back, not forward. Lean back,
do it again, do it again, do it again, do it.
You got it, Nico.
I can't do it. I know, baby, I know.
It is a lot more difficult than I thought it would be.
Come on, guys, you got this. You're almost there.
I'm not afraid of much, I don't think, but I am afraid of not knowing what's coming or the unknown, and I guess this challenge is a good way for us to test all that out, right?
Family is so important. Life is easier when you have people doing it with you.
Serrano's your
This portion of BYU Sports Nation is presented by Mountain America, the official credit union of BYU Athletics.
BYU Sports Nation's on demand. Download the free BYU TV and BYU Radio app. Subscribe, rate, and review the podcast as well.
Time to recap our fantasy basketball results. And once again, I lost. Turns out the number one pick in the fantasy drafts for football and basketball make a huge difference.
Yes, they do.
Let me recap my team first. Now, I had a 34-point lead going into Saturday's games. Lauren Gustin pretty much single-handedly just wiped that away.
Lauren Gustin's the GOAT, man.
Did you have like 52 parves in one game or something?
I think it was a million.
49, sorry.
It was amazing.
Incredible. My team finishes with 137 points.
160, I win. 5-0.
You win by 23. You're down 34. You win by 23.
Call me the 1980 BYU football.
Lauren Gustin, you're 5-0 this season. Okay.
It's very, very hit or miss for us, football, basketball. I won 6 in a row as well. I'd like to point that out from football.
Well, congratulations. When Lauren Gustin is out, we'll see what happens.
Why you got to put that negative energy on her? Jeez.
Say Jaron Hall was out, final game of the season.
Wow. Jeez. I didn't say, hey, when Jaron Hall's out. Gosh. Your apology.
Our question of the day. Is this the most relevant BYU has ever been in the NFL? At the Crocs Hall on Instagram, answers absolutely. We have not one but 2 guys with 1,000+ rushing yards this season. Combine that with the success of several other guys playing for multiple teams and contributing to their respective teams. The answer to the question is yes. Well, today's Rise and Shout Out presented by Mountain America, the official credit union of BYU Athletics. And
I got several. Jamal Williams,
yeah.
Tyler Jerry, amazing. Mark Pope sends head manager Jordan Juice Woodson to the national title game tonight. Stayed in SoCal. And Rebecca Ripley getting some love on social media for her Barbie-inspired floor routine from BYU Gymnastics.
Let's go. As always, thanks to our sponsors, PAX, Healthcare Elevated, presenting our elite voice of the day. Our thanks to today's guest, Cody Fueger. Sorry to who, Jarom? Oh, yeah, okay. For Jarom and Spencer, shout out to Jason Walker. We'll see you tomorrow on BYU Sports Nation. Go Cougs and go Frogs!